to the Point of Impact podcast with Rick McDaniel. Thanks for joining us today. Get ready to be inspired and motivated to live a high-impact life. Now, here's Rick.
Welcome to the Point of Impact podcast. I'm Rick McDaniel. It's great to have you joining with us again today as we're getting close to concluding season 5 of the Point of Impact. And we're so thankful for all the folks that listen and are helped and benefited from the encouragement, the inspiration, the motivation that they receive. Love to hear from you. You can go to rickmcdaniel.com and just put in an email through the contact form. I'd love to hear how things are blessing you, what helps you, what encourages you, what insights have you gotten through listening to this podcast. It was just at an event this past week, and it's just great to interact with folks in person. But hey, don't have to be in person. Love to hear from you. At that event, I had a great experience meeting Jon Gordon. If you know that name, you know what a significant person he is in this area of motivation, inspiration, positive mindset. If you don't know, this is a guy that's written 15 New York Times bestsellers. That's amazing. And he helped the Rams win a Super Bowl, helped the Tampa Bay Lightning win a Stanley Cup. I mean, helped the Clemson University football team win a national championship. So this is a guy that really is in demand in speaking to organizations and teams and speaking at events. And when I met him through, too long of a story, but the bottom line is that he's been reading my book, This Is Living. And I was so happy to hear that. That was just great. And I just said to him, I said, hey, would you be willing to write an endorsement? He said, absolutely. I mean, I love it. And so this is what I got from him. This Is Living is one of my favorite devotional books. Great writing, insightful stories, and powerful lessons. It sits on my nightstand, and I always look forward to reading it. That's from Jon Gordon, 15-time bestseller, New York Times bestseller, and again, one of the leading speakers in the area of motivation and inspiration that we have anywhere around, working with all kinds of corporations and teams. So it's always great, to get an endorsement, but one where the guy's like, I've been reading this book, man, it sits on my nightstand. That is fantastic. So if you don't have my book, This Is Living, then listen to Jon Gordon and just say, hey, man, if Jon thinks it's got great writing and insightful stories and powerful lessons, I can put it on my nightstand too and, take advantage of it. It's 100. There's 100 devotions or meditations, what readings, whatever you want to call them. It'll take you all about 3 minutes a day to read them. And that's what makes it such great reading. Some people, it's kind of comical, but I hear from people and they're like, yeah, I keep your book in my bathroom. I guess it's sort of a backhanded compliment, but, because instead of getting into a whole chapter, they can just read 3 minutes and do their business, be on their way. So anyway, whether you put it on your nightstand, bathroom, or on your kitchen counter, or wherever you might put it on your desk, just go to Amazon and you can pick it up. Sometimes they discount it down. It's a beautiful hardcover book. It goes for like $17.99, but sometimes you can get discounted down to $13-14, something like that. So it's great. So by all means, go out and get This Is Living. I think you'll find it. It's just a great way to start your day. It's a great way to just get some inspiration and motivation. Hear some really powerful, really interesting stories, and just get a good boost for the day. And there's a scripture there. So if you're a person of faith, then this is great for you because you get to start each day with some Bible and some insights. So This Is Living, daily inspiration to live your faith. That's what it's about. And I would just greatly encourage you to pick it up. You can also, if you want a signed copy, you can go to rickmcdaniel.com and order the book through there, and we'll send you a signed copy. So love to have you do that. So today, success. Just love talking about it. Talked about it a couple weeks ago. Want to talk about it one more time. Probably talked about it more than any other subject in this podcast. I'm pretty confident happiness would be like talked about last week, would probably be second, but it'd be at the top of the list. And so I just am always looking for a new way, fresh way to approach it with some new insights. And today it's 10 practices of successful people. Just what really is happening with people who are highly successful. They're practicing that. We talked about morning habits a couple weeks ago, which is great, focusing on the morning. And these are sort of larger, more macro practices. And I just think, if you can practice them, then you can succeed. So here we go, 10 practices. First one, they seek discomfort. They seek discomfort. I don't know if you know David Goggins, the Navy SEAL that was almost 300 pounds and lost all this weight and, made it through SEAL team training. And he's just got this whole message really of just like, just embracing the pain. Most of us don't want to feel uncomfortable, don't want discomfort. Pursuing discomfort is not easy, but it sets you on a faster path. If you want a fast track to success, here it is. Discomfort. Getting comfortable being uncomfortable. That's really what you have. If you want to learn, you want to grow, if you want to get it right, you're going to have to go through some discomfort along the way. Goggins says, don't stop when you're tired, stop when you're done. Don't stop when you're tired, stop when you're done. I mean, this is what discomfort is like. This is what pain is like. This is what suffering is like. And he runs these crazy 100-mile races and, of course, all the SEAL team training and all that stuff. It's just the whole purpose is to make you so uncomfortable that you just say, I don't want to pursue this discomfort. And yet that's the only way you can be a Navy SEAL. It's the only way. And it's the only way you can truly get to success is to do it. And some of you who listen to this podcast regularly know I did this hike last year, right around this time, wrote about it on Fox News and talked about it, just going up this mountain. It was so challenging and difficult. And I tell you, I really wanted to quit on it and give up, but I'm like, no, I'm going to keep doing it. And it took me over 5 hours. But man, it's worth it. When it's done, it's worth it. When it's done, the longer you get away from it, the more you're like, yeah, it was worth doing. You've got to be able to be uncomfortable. In fact, again, seeking discomfort, not like enduring it when you have to, but actually pursuing it. You're doing things that are hard, doing things that you're not used to doing things that are not comfortable. That's how you get to be successful. Straight up. All right, practice number 2, be failure friendly. Just trial and error. I used to say to my staff, we're failure friendly. Let's try stuff because it might work and it might be hugely successful. And if it doesn't, then it's a trial and error situation. Some people talk about, set a goal for the minimum number of mistakes you want to make a day or a week. And, it's like, what? Like a mistake budget? Yeah. Like actually what encourages you to pursue greatness, to pursue success, is to go through the process of trial and error. You try things, some work, some don't. But if you have this like mistake budget or a failure friendly mentality, then you can look at your mistakes and just say, well, I actually want to make mistakes, because if I'm not making mistakes, then I'm not trying. When you expect that things are going to sometimes work and sometimes don't, then you don't have to just, sit on the failures and the mistakes. I mean, so many people are so fearful of failure. And successful people are not fearful of failure. They do not fear failure. They just accept failure as feedback. as the path to ultimate success. You can fail your way right into success. That's how you end up improving. So really being failure friendly, viewing failure as feedback, and really failing forward. When I played football, as a running back, the whole process that you're taught is, fall forward. In other words, your body, you can pick up an extra 2 yards or close to it with your body. So don't go backwards, go forward. And that principle applies to life. Fail forward, fall forward. So even when you fail, you still end up going in the right direction. Third practice, they seek advice. And that's what successful people do. Seek advice, not feedback. All right, listen. Feedback is backward looking. Advice is forward looking. So feedback causes people to either criticize you or cheer for you, like, oh, you did that right, look at what you did, or you did that wrong. But advice is forward looking, so people are coaching you up, coaching you forward. So whether it's critics or cheerleaders, you want to get advice, not feedback. So you say, well, how do I do that? Here's just a very simple question. What's one thing I can do better next time? What's one thing I can do better next time? Now, again, you'll notice the theme in all these practices so far, and this is not for the insecure. This is not for people whose egos are fragile. You've got to be able to experience discomfort and experience failure and listen to people tell you things. But if you really want to be successful, you've got to grow, you've got to get better. So you want advice. You want advice. You want people to coach you forward. Feedback about the past that doesn't impact your future is of no value to you. Someone telling you did this wrong with nothing, or telling you, oh, that was great. Okay, but what can I do better next time? Another practice, you have to identify sources that you can trust. And you've got to decide what information is actually worth taking in and absorbing, and what it should be just, filtered out. So you have to listen to people who have, here we go. Number one, they have relevant expertise. Having someone tell you what to do when they've never done it successfully is a waste of your time and not a source you should trust. Secondly, they know you. This is why coaching is so important, and having someone, and as I've gotten into this area of coaching, it's just when someone knows you, they can help you. And then third, they want what's best for you. They really have your best interest in mind. So we're talking about credibility. Someone has relevant, successful experience and expertise. We're talking about familiarity. They know you. They know who you are. And we're talking about care. They want what's best for you. So those are the sources that you really want to be focused in on. That's really where you want to be. You want to be around the people who care about you and know you and have experience and credibility because they've actually done it. That's the kind of information you want to listen to. Those are the kinds of people that you want around you. Because it's great to have coaching, and we all need to be coached up. All right, next practice. Strive for excellence, but not perfection. I've talked about this in many different ways, and I always well, not always, but sometimes tell the story. And it's worth just quickly telling. So I was speaking to a football team before a game at the hotel. Teams are getting ready before they go to the stadium. And this team had been undefeated until the previous game. And my whole message was perfection is no longer a possibility, but excellence absolutely is. And that's really a life lesson, because we just simply cannot be perfect. It's impossible. The only perfection lies with Jesus. He lived on this earth 33 years perfect. No one else ever has. No one else ever will. The rest of us are fallible. We make mistakes. We mess up. So perfection is not possible, but excellence is. Because success comes from having high standards, maintaining those standards, having attention to detail, really trying to be the best you can be. But it's not about eliminating every weakness and flaw. That's not possible. There are going to be shortcomings, weaknesses, flaws, whatever you want to call them in all of our lives. So we come to a place where we say, okay, I accept that, but I'm going to strive to be the best. This is why I'm a huge believer in the idea that you shouldn't really work on your weaknesses as much as you should build on your strengths. I think people spend a lot of energy. Now, there might be a significant weakness like an addiction or something you just have got to get straight in your life. But short of that, I think you make a mistake trying to focus on, getting your weaknesses all straightened out rather than accepting there's some flaws and weaknesses in your life, but you're going to build on your strengths. You're going to make your strengths even stronger, and that will bring you to a place of excellence. You consider, where you really need to be the best, and then you say, that's where I'm going to put my focus. That is where I'm going to strive hardest. I love this phrase, excellence honors God, inspires people. I believe that with all my heart. I believe when you do things excellently, God gets honored, and I believe it's inspirational to people. So that's where you want to really focus. At the end of the day, this is really the question you want to ask yourself is, did you make yourself better? And or did you make someone else better? Like if you can say at the end of the day, I made myself better, I made somebody else better, then you really are pursuing excellence. You're not pursuing perfection, but you positively are pursuing excellence. And that is where you want to have your focus. Practice excellence. Don't get wrapped up in perfection. All right, another practice of success is being your own judge. Meaning it's better to disappoint others than to disappoint yourself. You're the judge, and you need to say, is this my absolute best that I can give? And that's what matters more than other people's opinions. You have to answer for you. So it isn't about trying to make other people happy, please them. Now, again, whenever I say this, I always just like to qualify and say, I'm not saying you should go out of your way to be a jerk. Well, I don't please people, so no one likes me. Who cares? No. If you try your best and you try to please God, you're going to please most people most of the time. That's just a fact. So let's understand that truth. But there will become times, where, someone else's standard may not be your standard. So you need to say, before I, release something into this world, does this represent, my best? If this was the only work that people see, would I be proud of it? That's what you have to ask yourself. just judge yourself. Like say, no, this needs another, it needs another edit. We're talking about review. It needs another experiment. It's not. No, we've got to. It needs another tweak. It needs another iteration. Whatever we're talking about, until you can say, no, I'm proud of this. This represents my name, my brand, however you want to talk about it. I can release this into the world. Be your own judge, not, the people say, that's good enough, No, it's not good enough for me. Here's another practice. The daily grind becomes a source of daily joy. In other words, it's the get to, not have to mentality. You don't have to, you get to. And so the grind is not like grinding you into nothing. The grind is really like a source of your daily joy. You've got passion, and you are fueled by your passion. Now, I think it's helpful if you can set up some challenges in your life that bring you, say, some laughter or fun. There's something to be said for that. Just things that, like Steph Curry likes to see if he can score 21 points in a minute. Can he do it? Like just sets a little goal and just sees if he can, pull it off. And those kinds of things are great. Authors will many times be like, let's, pump out 1,000 words today. So, you sort of give yourself something there. Or you may want to say, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to reward myself with an ice cream cone in this hot summer. I was just down in Florida. Holy smokes. Woo, hot times. So, but it's getting hot a lot of places. So, say I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to get an ice cream cone to reward myself for all my hard work. However you do it, whatever works for you. But again, this a get to, not have to mentality, and just the grind is not grinding you into the ground. The grind is really like your source of your daily joy. Like I'm doing what I'm passionate about. I'm gonna get joy out of that. I'm gonna try to blend in some fun and some rewards along the way. Maybe some games, within the day, goal setting games, whatever you want to call them. And I think if you do that, what happens is you produce more, you produce better quality work, and it's the way you want to go. Here's another practice of successful people. When they're stuck, sometimes they have to go back to go forward, to go back to move forward. Like, you hit a dead end, and the answer is to put it in reverse. Do you know that when Henry Ford built his first car, he did not have a reverse gear? That's just one of those funny little anomalies of history. Didn't know that one? Share that the next dinner party. Yeah. No reverse gear. But the fact of the matter is, we need a reverse gear in life. Now, just like a reverse gear is not used often in driving, not often. Usually it's, just once a day, backing out of the driveway, backing out of the parking space, something like that. It's not a common thing. Mostly it's drive. It's forward, a lot of people have automatic transmission. It's hard to find a car almost anymore these days. I've got a little vintage sports car that's a stick, but, most of the time we're driving on automatic transmission. So it's either reverse or drive, and most of the time it's drive. But sometimes you've got to turn around, put it in reverse and find a new path. You might feel like you're regressing, but it's just the only way to find the route that leads to progress. So you will see successful people do this. They will back up to ultimately go forward. In fact, if you listen to the stories of success, and I just heard another one just the other day where, someone just made a bad business deal, lost all their money, millions. Actually, they move in temporarily, and this is back when this wasn't as common as it is today, move back in with their folks to kind of, go back and regroup. Now this person ended up making millions and doing quite well. So sometimes you do have to back up to go forward. Here's another practice. Successful people teach what they want to learn. Really the best way to learn something is to teach it. People who teach Sunday school, and that's not as common these days in churches as it used to be, but it still happens. But many times you talk to them and they'll say, one of the reasons I like to do this Sunday school is because I have to learn it and to teach it. And then when I learn it, I really understand it better. And then when I explain it, I understand it even better. And then I remember it even better. You see how, what it takes. Just take it from a guy who literally, speaks for a living and has been speaking thousands of times, preparing. You want to learn something? Prepare to speak on it. You want to understand it better? Go through the process of trying to explain it. And you want to remember it better, Again, it's really something. You can do this in small groups. You don't have to become some public speaker, but really just really learning something by being responsible for teaching it. It's just one of these fascinating little hidden success practices. People who have success learn how to do this. And this is where they end up with great proficiency. All right, one final practice. And I heard someone talk about it this way as they engaging in mental time travel. It's a funny way to think about it, but here's the concept. Just consider how your past self would view your current achievements. If you knew 5 years ago what you'd accomplished now, how proud of yourself would you be? So many times, when we get discouraged about our perceived lack of success, what we really need to do is just go back and see how much we have accomplished, see how much we have done. When you're struggling to appreciate your progress and your success and your accomplishments, just go back and then say, now, if I knew I was going to do all this, have achieved all this, what would I think about myself now? That's why, it can be helpful really to create a resume, even if you haven't needed one, just to force you, or somebody like me who people, you go speak and people want the bio, and the bio has always got to be updated. Or think of yourself I'm going to be on Wikipedia. What would it say about what I've done? I would never be on, and I would never. No, what have you done? What have you accomplished? And you might be surprised if you just do that mental time travel and you go back and you're like, you know what? Pretty good. And so successful people are able to encourage themselves from their past accomplishments and achievements about what they can do in the future. And again, this isn't just about limited things like money or certain accomplishments. It certainly be about relationships, about health, about any number of things. You got to really expand beyond the resume concept to the whole aspect of your life. And if you really do that, I think you'll be surprised about what you have been able to accomplish and overcome, what you've been able to overcome, the challenges. And It'll help you and it'll fuel you. And that's what successful people do. They look for these ways to continue to keep themselves self-motivated. So there's 10 practices, and you practice these and you will be a successful person. Have a great week.
You've been listening to the Point of Impact podcast with Rick McDaniel. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to you joining us for our next episode.